Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome to the Full Spectrum Project here at WBHM-DB Radio. And we have a special guest tonight, Jason Offutt. I am your host, Brian Clune, and I am joined by...
This is Pete Haviland in the sunny skies of Houston, Texas, where it's raining and you can see probably nothing, really.
Really, because it's nice and sunny and warm here in the left coast of California. I mean, it's beautiful here.
Yeah, we've got a great day shoulder because of the thunder, so it's great.
Well, yeah, you actually get good ghost activity with thunderstorms, lightning, and stuff like that. But we don't get much of those out here in California. Seriously, it hardly ever rains here.
What, ghosts or rain?
Well, we got plenty of ghosts.
Oh, okay.
So, at least that I've found.
Okay.
Which reminds me, so Pete, you know I've taken an early retirement, right?
Yes. Do they know that you took it yet?
I don't really care if they do or not. They really have no say in the matter, so it doesn't matter. But one of the things that's really cool about this is I wanted to concentrate on my writing, all right? And my publishers are actually quite happy about this. But a way for me to make a little extra money, I'm going to be doing a little bit of vending at local street fairs and things like that if they ever open up in California. Luckily, my hometown here in Torrance, it has a monthly thing. And I actually did really well last month. So that's something I'm really looking forward to because you know how I like to get out, meet people, things like that. That's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to the Jefferson Paracon here next month.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to finally being able to torment you in person. You have no idea how I am looking forward to that.
I've been charging my taser, and I now have some bear spray, so I'm not really worried about it. Bring it on.
And you think that'll work?
No, I don't. But I think it'll be fun to watch it.
Well, you know what's going to happen, right? If you tase me,
you'll probably blow up like some popcorn balls or something.
No, it'll probably start making me twerk. So
that'll be worse.
You have that to look forward to. So get that taser ready. Get that taser ready. Right. All right. Sorry, Jason. But I just wanted to kind of let Pete know what was going on with it. Oh, and by the way, the cool thing, and because I write ghost books mainly, and I did not plan this, my first day of retirement is on Halloween, and I think that's absolutely perfect. Okay, so Jason, you still with us, or did we knock you off with our banter there?
No, I'm right here.
Okay, so when I was doing some research on you, I noticed that you write a lot of fiction and nonfiction. I'm kind of curious, which do you prefer? Where does your passion lie in writing, the fiction or the nonfiction?
That's kind of a tough question. Because I was a newspaper journalist for 17 years, so nonfiction is my thing. That's what I've done for most of my life. However, man, I love writing fiction. I love being able to to open up and let my characters, the characters I came up with, do things and talk and move around, and I have no control of them. That sounds crazy to some people, non-writers, but I can make characters up and they just do things that are sometimes out of my control, and I just write down what they do. I think maybe I'm going to have to say I prefer fiction because when I get stuck in fiction, I just kill a character off, and people frown on that when I'm writing nonfiction.
Yeah, that I can imagine.
I would hope so, that you wouldn't be going out there killing folks.
Well, I've said too much.
Pete, as an investigator, you really need to pick.
Investigator. Okay,
you need to pick up Jason's books, his nonfiction, and figure out who he's killed off. You might be able to solve some cases that way.
Watch out! I'm hot on the trail now.
Yeah.
Just a thought. So, but I do understand what you mean about the fact that you write fiction and all of a sudden your characters take on a life of their own. I have one fiction novel that I've written, and my wife and I are in the process of editing it. And it amazes me. I'll sit down to write, when I was writing it, I would sit down to write, and I would get done with a chapter, and I'd be like, where the heck did that come from? Because that's not what I meant to write. It was like the character itself or the characters decided what I was going to write. So I like to joke around about the fact that I'm not the author, I'm just the typist.
Right, that's what it feels like. And again, people who don't write fiction, they don't get it, because that sounds really, really pretty nuts. That you don't have control over the characters in your brain. And yeah, I'm what's called a pantser.
Me too.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a general idea, of what my book's going to be about. I have a general idea of how it's going to end. And I mean, I feel that outlining severely limits my creativity and what my people, the people in my head can do. And yeah, I start off at a certain point where I want them to start and just let them go. And
I'm learning more natural that way, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And it's a much more fun writing process, because I've tried the outlining before, and if I already know how things are going to go, it's not nearly as fun as me. Fun for me. So I'm discovering the book just like the reader is when they're reading it for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I found, because I normally write nonfiction, fiction actually seems easier to me rather than having to sit down and do all this research on different locations and then try and do the research on the ghost activity and all of that. So in a way, it seems easier to write the fiction because, like you said, and we've been talking about, is it all seems to come out when you're writing.
Right. And I'll agree with you about it being easier. Because, I mean, when I'm writing nonfiction, I make sure I go to places because when I'm writing, I want to accurately depict where I am. So because if somebody, an example, one of the first places I went when I wrote my first book on ghosts was a place called the Vale Mansion in Independence, Missouri. And it's supposedly haunted by a woman who killed herself with an overdose of morphine back in the 1880s. And she reappears at this one spot every once in a while. So I wanted to go. I went when it was still light. I walked around the grounds. I got a tour of the house. And then one of the docents that I knew let me stay there. So I stayed there all until like 3 a.m. on the spot where this woman supposedly keeps appearing. And just because I wanted to give the reader the visual, what it looked like, what it felt like at 3 o'clock in the morning, what the building smelled like, I wanted to be as accurate as possible. I do that when I write fiction, but I'm making up things. But I also want, if I'm placing it in a city, I want to, make sure that I've been to that city. And when I mention places, street names, I want to make sure that, this is what that street is. And I wrote in my last novel a couple of newspaper stories that the characters read. And being a journalist, I followed how a newspaper would write the story. Because it really annoys me when people have a news story in a novel, and it's obviously not written in the inverted pyramid with the Associated Press style. That drives me crazy. because it's inaccurate. So yeah, in both, I try to be as accurate as I can, even when I'm writing about zombies.
Yeah, believe me, I hear that. Pete, are you taking notes for the book you're writing?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay, good. Considering Terry and I are going to be helping edit it, that'll make things easier on us too.
Okay. Well, I was going to have you write it for me too.
So I've already helped out with some writing tips. I helped out with somebody's detective career when they bust me. No, wait a second.
Absolutely. But hey, here's the good part, Jason. I can bake cakes like you wouldn't believe. So if you do get thrown in jail, don't be surprised when you get a cake. Just don't let them use a metal detector on it.
All right, I'll do my best. You'll be doing more than my wife does since she doesn't cook anything. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Okay, so you have to answer this. Tell us a little bit about your wanting to be known as a humorist and how you're working to dethrone your state's most famous humorist, Mark Twain.
Oh my God, this is a headache for me. I just recently retired my humor column. I'd written a newspaper humor column continuously for 29 years. I just won my state's award for best humor column in my last month, which
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations. But why'd you retire after getting that?
Oh man, I've been doing this for 29 years. And because I found myself and anybody who's doing a job when they get to the point to where they're like, oh geez, I gotta go to work on this. At that point you should probably hang up whatever you're doing. And that's what it was like. It was more work than fun for me anymore. But anyway, I've been a humor writer for a long time, and it's always upset me that I'm from Missouri because freaking Mark Twain is from Missouri, so I can never ever be my state's most famous humor writer. It's not in the cards for me.
You never know. I mean, Samuel Clemens did get his start not in Missouri but in Virginia City. Now, granted, he did do a little work in Missouri, but he really established his career in Nevada. So,
right, he did, and he also did. He worked at a newspaper in California, I think in San Francisco for a while as well.
Right. So, I mean, you never know. It could still happen.
All right, I'll work on that. And that's what I have a hard time keeping humor out of anything I write. Even when I write horror, there's some humor in there somewhere. I just can't help myself.
Yeah, you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just don't use exclamation points.
Man, you've done your research on me.
I would never.
Oh man, yeah. Exclamation. That's my hot button. That's exclamation point should be removed from the English language. As I tell my writing students, my God, it's shaped like a club for a reason. When you use an exclamation point, you're beating your reader about the head, with it. Be more subtle. Show the reader the excitement as opposed to smacking them with a stick.
Well, on our Facebook page for our radio show, I did use a few exclamation points and then wrote an apology to you for using them.
All right. Well, apology accepted this time.
Just this once?
Just this once. That's all you get.
Having talked about Mark Twain, have you done any research to find out if he's haunting anything or had written anything about anything like that?
Oh, I did, and I wish I would have prepped for this question. Then I would be able to remember names. There was a spiritualist. She was originally from Hannibal, but when she moved, she was a school teacher, an English teacher, and aspiring novelist, and she moved to St. Louis and started doing Ouija board sessions with another spiritualist, and claimed to have gotten a hold of Mark Twain. And Mark Twain dictated 2 short stories. One of them had something to do with the planet Mars. Queen of Mars or something like that. and dictated an entire novel called Jap Heron. That was the name of the guy. And it's out there. It's online if anybody wants to read it. It's really poorly written because Twain didn't write it. This woman wrote it and claimed that she wrote it via the Ouija board. So, yeah, I don't know if he's out there. There was another Patience Worth was another psychic spiritualist medium who claims to have contacted Mark Twain, but he was really opposed to the afterlife. And if he's haunting anywhere, probably he'd feel kind of like a hypocrite.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've often wondered whether his spirit might be up in the old newspaper area where he worked up in Virginia City. I don't know if you've ever been to Virginia City, but that is one really haunted town, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's still hanging around, especially since his name's everywhere.
Well, and that's the thing about ghosts is, people think, cemeteries are extremely haunted, or, they haunt the last building, the last house they lived in. And no, ghosts go everywhere. They don't necessarily haunt the same spot. I mean, Twain could still be haunting his home in Connecticut, or haunting the Mark Twain cave in Hannibal, or the newspaper office in Virginia City. He could, haunt them all in the same night if he wanted to.
Yeah, it's kind of like Al Capone. When I was doing research for my Alcatraz book, I was thinking to myself, man, when I die, I want Al Capone's travel agent. I mean, this guy gets around. He gets out to Alcatraz. He gets to Chicago. He goes down to Florida. He's seen up in Philadelphia. And it's like, you know what? This guy travels more now than he did when he was alive, it seems.
Right. It's the same with Frank James, Jesse's brother. He's been seen. His ghost has been seen at their boyhood home in Kearney, Missouri. His ghost has been seen at the 1859 jail and Marshall's home in Independence. He's been seen in Jefferson City. He's been seen in Minnesota, just all over the place.
Now that's interesting. I always get it confused. My wife is either related to Frank James, and I'm thinking that's who she's related to, or Jesse James. I just can't remember which. So if it is,
well, let me just interrupt in a second for a second. Since Frank and Jesse were brothers, she'd be related to both of them.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
So you had to go there, huh?
I had to go there.
Well, yeah, I guess you're, yeah. But I remember she was always saying it was one of the brothers that she was more closely related to, so like an offspring. So I'm just not really sure which one it was. But yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to find a little bit out about his spirit and see if there's a family resemblance. Okay, so in your bio, you say in your zombie novel, Bad Day for the Apocalypse, there are actually no zombies in the book.
Right.
Chasing American Monsters, there are.
Yes.
So, which state has these zombies? Because I want to make sure that I never visit that state. Now, before you answer, we're going to have to take a break here in about less than a minute. So if you don't mind, we'll take the break just a little bit early. And when we come back, you can answer that question for us, if that's all right.
All right, that would be fine.
All right, great. Thanks so much.
All right.
We'll see you on the flip side.
All righty.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. If you haven't joined already, please go to our chat room. And if you have any questions for us or our guests, please call area code 205-533-7982. And we have been talking to Jason Offutt. And Jason, I had, when we left for the break, I was asking you about what states have the zombies. And like I said, I want to make sure that you fill us in on that because I do a lot of road trips and I don't want to road trip through those states.
Well, when it comes to zombies, I think Florida, of course, has the probably has the most. That's where we've got some zombie attacks. Actually, they've claimed that it was people high on bath salts.
I thought it might have been gators.
Well,
zombie gators would be frightening.
Yeah, there's a movie called Zombievers about zombie beavers. It's that's scary.
That was real scary.
Yeah, the thing about zombies is we haven't, other than the bath salt attacks that resulted in some cannibalism in Florida. There haven't been really.
Bit the guy in the face, right?
He started chomping and eating part of his face.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there have been various states that have put out preparedness warnings on what to do in case of a zombie attack, and the state of Kansas has been one. Florida's done that as well, and the state of Missouri Conservation Agency put out on one Halloween rules to hunting zombies during zombie hunting season. So I'd worry about Florida, but the Midwest has got you covered.
So are those like the only two states that have zombies? And Florida, by the way, I think you just saved me from having to move to Florida, which is where my wife really wants to go. But I don't think she likes zombies either. So that might have been a good one.
Yeah, zombies do not make good house pets. Just a tip.
Yeah, that I can imagine. But seriously, when you say zombies, are you talking like the Haitian type of zombies where it's all drug induced, or are you talking zombies?
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about actual real zombies, the Haitian zombies. I know, I'm talking about the George Romero type.
Okay. Oh, so
Oh, the slow ones that kind of drag their feet and just amble around.
Right. Yeah, I've never really understood what the terror is for those, because you could probably run 20 yards and sit down and have a beer and a smoke and wait for it to catch up.
Yeah, you can walk faster than some of those zombies.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Yeah.
haven't you watched those movies? I mean, they gang up on you. So
Right. Yeah, I really think I would probably survive a zombie apocalypse. I'm just saying. I've actually got a machete within 6 feet of me right now.
now, see,
I'm glad
that's just scary.
Oh, I'm in my garage. I've got a lawnmower within 6 feet of me too.
Okay, so here's another question regarding zombies. So let's say we happen to wander into a state where zombies are present. How do we kill zombies with common office supplies? What should we keep in our cars for zombie protection? Like a stapler, paper clips, rubber bands. What kind of common office supplies should we stock up on for a zombie elimination?
All right, yeah. For office supplies, staplers work, especially if they're swing lines. Swing line staplers are the preferred zombie killing stapling system in this country. They're good. A lot of things in janitorial would help. If you're a smoker and have a lighter, any sort of aerosol can in the janitorial supply closet will set the zombie on fire. Unfortunately, it will also set your office on fire, so you might want to look for the exits.
Well, unfortunately, here in California, you're not allowed to have like lighters and things like that in an office building because we're strictly no smoking. So we'll have to stop with the makeshift flamethrowers, unfortunately.
But, and that's a joke that I used in my in my latest novel. A guy was looking in a janitorial supply closet for something to fight off man-sized cockroaches, and he found this aerosol can, and he was searching for a lighter, but it was a smoke-free environment, so he couldn't use it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't understand if California really knows that they're hurting our ability to protect ourselves by taking away all of our smoking implements and things. It's kind of scary.
Well, and yeah, that's a problem, because what I also suggest for people's homes is just to have open bottles of vodka sitting all over the house. It's it'll make them look like a total alcoholic for anybody coming over to visit. But if zombies get in the house, dousing them with vodka and throwing something on fire at them will really take care of their zombie infestation.
Well, here's a problem I see with that. They would be empty bottles in my house, but I could maybe spit on them and hope that it would light.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just breathe it out. Maybe you'll act like an aerosol can.
And also the smell. I mean, how do you get burning zombie smell out of your house?
I don't know. I think don't they have a Febreze scent for that?
I don't know. I never really looked into it. What would it have to be? Lime or something?
Well, yeah, maybe lime, or burning tires or something. That might do it. Yeah, Febreze.
Yeah, I was going to say. So what you do is after the zombie is put out, you just grab a can of Febreze and spray him down with it, and problem solved.
Right. Can you imagine the types of businesses that would spring up if we actually had a zombie apocalypse? I mean, because a brand new Febreze scent. Man, you'd really have to have a really industrial strength carpet cleaners for the home, to get out all the old blood and gore. Probably you would have, everybody would have a blade on the front of their car just to scrape the zombies out of their driveway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what about the anti-zombie sprays or stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's man. I'm almost hoping for the zombie apocalypse so I can make bank.
Hey, you know
you go.
what? We'll combine it and we'll call it Zombaway.
Way.
And I know what song we can use. You know, the Lion Sleeps Tonight, because the Zombaway would fit right in there.
Exactly. There you go.
That reminds me of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes with that damn song, Puke Buff.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
sorry.
Yeah.
You got little Jimmy. Ate him all up.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting to your book, Chasing American Monsters, what would you say is the state in the United States that has the most terrifying monster?
Ooh, most terrifying. I'm going to go with Louisiana. Because Louisiana, I mean, it is the Loup Garou.
Now, is I was going to say, is that because my sister-in-law lives there?
Possibly.
You know, I'm going to. You know, I'm going to
not...
get it when I get it in the house now.
Yeah, your invitation to Christmas just got screwed.
Well, and you gotta worry about Louisiana anyway. I had one of my first newspaper bosses in a newspaper was from his last name was Thibodeau. He was from Jennings, Louisiana, and I met his brother-in-law. I don't know what his real name was, but his brother-in-law went by Goomy, and Goomy had plenty of stories. I just unfortunately couldn't understand a word he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
You usually have to interpret it.
But, he could cook like nobody's business.
So, now, unless I missed it, what monster are you talking about from Louisiana?
Oh, I was rambling, so I didn't talk about any. There's the Loup Garou, which is French for werewolf. There's a legend about that in New Orleans especially, and they appear as normal men, normal people, and they tend to wander around horror areas and areas on the outskirts of the city, and will try and get people to follow them somewhere. And once they get them alone, they shift into a wolf. They shift into a wolf creature and kill them and eat them. That's one. There's the Honey Island Swamp Monster is another, which is the Louisiana Bigfoot. There's Honey Island is out in the swamp, of course, because it's the swamp monster. But Honey Island was called that because it has a lot of honeybees, at least it did at one point. But the swamp monster's been seen by a number of people, and it's a typical Bigfoot, except for the fact that it leaves three-toed footprints.
Three-toed footprints?
Three-toed footprints. And I find it fascinating that in researching Chasing American Monsters, I found Bigfoot creatures with three-toed footprints in Louisiana, in Arkansas, right north of Louisiana, the Folk Monster, which the Legend of Boggy Creek was based on. Missouri's right north of that, and we had a three-toed Bigfoot, Momo. And then there are three-toed Bigfoot prints in Iowa and Minnesota. So right through the center of the country is there are three-toed Bigfoot reports. And why would they have three toes? I think that's fascinating.
I was going to ask you, is that just? I know that I've seen a lot of prints that people have done that there's a lot of deformations of the feet. You think that might have been something that had happened, that it was deformed, or you think it's maybe maybe a monster that's been alive for a little while that's just migrating between the places?
Well, and as you see, I was wondering about the migration, because that would make a lot of sense, especially since mostly what they're doing, it's going up and down the Mississippi River. There are a lot of different varieties of Bigfoot, all across the world, but But even in this country, there are Bigfoot reports that look like gorillas. Their faces look like gorillas, and they act like gorillas. And there are Bigfoot reports that facially they look like people. And some hunters have said that they almost took a shot at a Bigfoot, but its face looked too human. They didn't want to murder it. And then there's in Florida we've got the skunk ape, which looks more like an orangutan than anything else. And up in New Hampshire, there are 7-foot tall gray Bigfoot that are about half the width and breadth of what people report around the country. So it could just be a deformed Bigfoot. It could be a family of maybe inbreeding did something to them, or maybe that's just how they are. And yeah, they do migrate up and down the Mississippi River. And that's the thing with monsters and all about the paranormal. We don't know.
Yes,
Right.
That's true.
Now, we were just kind of talking about, the Bigfoots being in different states. And the skunk ape, I'd heard was not only in Florida, but I'd heard that they had a skunk ape in, I believe it was Mississippi. And then there was one other one that unfortunately I can't remember. It might have been Louisiana. But I'm just kind of wondering, since these states have similar monsters, is it possible that these monsters could just be crossing state lines and they're actually, maybe not multiple monsters, but one or two that are just wandering around?
Well, I mean, that would be if it was one or two wandering around. I mean, that's a big area. And to have them cited in by multiple people in multiple states, I think would be not impossible, but unlikely. But look at the a lot of times they're reported in swamps and in forests and all the states in that area have swamps and heavy forests. So, I mean, that's just kind of their habitat. I mean, but again, it could be a migrating group. We don't know. We don't know about these things.
Well, do you know, have there been reports of the same creatures in different states at roughly the same time to kind of make it so that they wouldn't be the same group?
Well, yeah, there are Bigfoot reports all over the country and Canada, all over North America, all the time. But but actually, the numbers, I don't really know. I mean, some of them could be, yeah, absolutely. But I think there are a few more Bigfoot out there, and probably it would be different creatures. That's just a guess.
Now, I know this isn't talking about the United States, but this has always not bothered me. But I always wondered, when Australia burned, where were all the yowies?
Oh yeah, fine question. Generally, when things happen in the U.S., when we have big forest fires in California, when Mount St. Helens erupted, there were reports of Bigfoot, fleeing the scenes. I don't know. There weren't any yowie reports that I know of from all those forest fires, and in there, and there weren't any cryptid reports that I know of all the fires down in the Amazon either.
Now, I'm not really familiar with the yowie. What exactly is that?
It's the Australian Bigfoot. It looks like our Bigfoot, the traditional ape-like 7-8 feet tall creature. The one thing that really sets it apart from reports of Bigfoot here is it is extremely territorial and violent.
And drinks a lot of Fosters.
And drinks a lot of Fosters.
Well, that's probably why it's violent.
Right, exactly. Well, talking to people from Australia, they don't drink Fosters.
I know.
That's the crap beer there.
Right, it's their PBR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't be dissing my PBR.
I'm sorry. I almost said Miller High Life, but I actually like that, so I wasn't going to badmouth Miller High Life.
Hey, as I was growing up, I was drinking Lucky Lager.
Oh,
So
geez.
trust me, PBR is like, the champagne of beers for me.
Well, when I was in college, me and a couple of buddies put some money together to buy the cheapest beer because we didn't have much money, so we put it together to buy as much beer as we possibly could, and Lucky Lager was the cheapest, and that is the only beer me and my two friends never finished.
And you had the pleasure of being able to read the jokes on the inside of the bottle cap. Let's not forget that.
Oh, they were in cans.
Oh, yours were in cans?
We had cans.
Oh, so you guys were really slumming it.
Yeah. Yes, we were.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Keystone Light was just out here.
Keystone
Yeah.
Light.
And then of course you had
that.
Lone Star. Yeah.
Yeah. Lone Star is that was the first entire can of beer I drank. So I have fond memories of Lone Star.
Yeah.
So talking about Bigfoot, have you heard of the Matakagmi?
Wow, where's that from?
That is a native Bigfoot here in California, from around the Modoc and Ohlone tribes. That is their version of Bigfoot. And the reason I was asking is and I don't know whether it's the same with other Native American tribes, but these two tribes actually kind of lived with the Matakagmi.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a native legend about one of the tribesmen who was lost, and the Matakagmi actually saved him. And it came from when they had met earlier, and the tribesman had given the Matakagmi his fish. And from then on, the Matakagmi would every once in a while come to his cabin and leave presents for him, and they would actually leave presents back and forth.
That story sounds familiar. I think I've read that somewhere. The thing about the native peoples, not just in the U.S. but the First Nations people in Canada, is that a lot of them have said that they generally have stories, legends of these large hairy people, and they just considered them another type of person, that they were as human as they were, and they would trade with them and have dealings with them like that. The thing about this is there have been a lot of people who've had what they thought was being a Bigfoot scat or hair or a blood sample and had it analyzed. And generally these, if they don't come back as, like bear or deer, they will come back as human, but with anomalies. Dr. Melba Ketchum has had this happen. A researcher in Alberta, Canada, had the same thing happen. A scientist in England who had Zana, if you are familiar with Zana. If not, I'll talk about her in a second. Her offspring dug up to do DNA analysis, and it came back as human with anomalies. Well, who's to say that the Native Americans aren't right and they are people? And maybe these really are Bigfoot DNA samples, and they prove that they are human, just not quite.
Yeah, exactly. We have to take a break, but when we come back, I would love for you to explain what this other creature you were just now talking about.
Yeah, Zana.
Zana, yeah. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will continue with Jason Offutt.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
And you are back with the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. And as I mentioned before, if you haven't already joined in our chat room, please do. And if you have any questions for us or our guests, please call area code 205-533-7982. So Jason, you were going to explain this other creature that you were talking about.
Right. Zana. Zana was a wild woman that was captured in Russia. We've got all sorts of Bigfoot around the world. You know, you mentioned the Yowie. We also have the Billy Ape from the Congo. We've got which has been found, by the way. We've got the
Really?
Almasty from Eastern Asia. We've got the Yeren from China, the Orang Pindak from Borneo. So we've got Bigfoot reports all over the world, and they're generally a little bit different. But Zana was supposedly a wild woman that was captured by some Russian villagers way out in the boonies, and they tied her up and dragged her back to town and kept her in an outbuilding, kept her locked up, and eventually she calmed down. And she was holding up air quotes, which is great for the radio. She was tamed, and since she was so strong, they had her do lots of manual labor around the village. But then some of the men decided that this extremely hairy, big person was the right person to have sex with. And she had offspring. And
beautiful.
And the offspring, she was never able to talk. She was never, ever accepted clothing. She was, a huge, hairy, wild woman. But the children were not as big. They were less hairy. They all had pronounced brow ridges, like a Neanderthal. But one of them, who was a pretty good pianist, when he died, and this, I was talking about this British scientist. He was from Oxford or Cambridge, I don't remember which, but he had him exhumed and did a DNA test on him, and he was human, except there was a little bit that wasn't quite right that couldn't be explained.
So what were they thinking that this woman was?
Well, most, the Bigfoot people say that she was Bigfoot. DNA tests show that she had some origins in Africa, but we all did. And,
yeah, true.
Yeah, there's been some speculation that maybe she was just a that she was one of our earlier, less evolved ancestors that was, there's still a population out there someplace.
Huh. It's kind of interesting. All right. So in Chasing American Monsters, you write about multiple monsters in each state. Now, do you concentrate on only the most gruesome or the most well-known? How did you pick the monsters that you'd write about for each state?
All right. What I planned to do to begin with was to take the lesser known monsters, and to some extent I did. But some of the states, how could I leave out? Patty from the Bigfoot from the Patterson Gimlin film. I couldn't leave that one out. I couldn't leave the Dover Demon out. I couldn't leave the frogmen from Ohio or in my home state Momo. So I felt I needed to include them. I didn't want to include Bigfoot in every state, but I kind of had to, because Bigfoot's been reported in every state, including Rhode Island. Well, I shouldn't say every state, because Hawaii doesn't have a Bigfoot.
Yeah, he's been banned in Hawaii.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's. I was kind of thinking maybe it's just too expensive out there.
Yeah, it very well could be.
Yeah.
So,
but to finish up on the questions, I didn't try to do gruesome, although there are some gruesome ones in there. I just tried to do a lot of them that people hadn't heard of before.
Now, you mentioned Hawaii, with them being at least at one time a remote island chain. Do they have many cryptids in Hawaii?
Right. Yeah, they've got a few. They've got the Minahuni, which are little people, which is something else that I'm really fascinated by, because there's little people stories everywhere.
I saw some film of some people that were on a motorcycle, and they saw this little guy jump out of the grass, run across the trail, and go into the other side of the grass. They were talking about it was a little man. Is that something that? Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I would like to see that video.
Okay, I'll send it to you. All
right, cool. Yeah, there are structures that are rock structures that are built in the Hawaiian Islands that, like dams at creeks, or what looks like altars, or little bridge, and those are credited to the Minahuni, who are they said were builders. They come out at night. People can sometimes see them on a moonlit night. If they're seen, they're generally not too happy about it. They're not really hostile towards people, but they don't want their privacy messed with too much. There have been reports of pterodactyls seen on the Hawaiian Islands. There's a vampire called the Moo that lives in shallow water, shallow creeks or shallow ponds, and if someone gets too close, it grabs them, drags them underwater, and sucks the blood out of them. So there are a lot of fun monsters in Hawaii.
Huh. Wait, did you say that it was the Moo that would be in shallow water and?
Right. Yeah. The MU. Moo.
MU. So I'm curious. This is another Modoc and Ohlone creature. Have you heard of the Bukwus?
Buckwoosh, yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? Buckwoosh?
Yeah, the Buckwoosh. Yeah, it's a Bigfoot type character, I think.
Well, there's some speculation on it, but there's so much different mythology behind it. But I was wondering if that could be a relation to the Moo, because the story of the Bukwus is that it tries to get people to eat what's called ghost food, which will then turn the person eating the ghost food into a Bukwus, And if not, they'll drown them to try and get them to follow them for eternity. And the Bakwus is supposedly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, the spirits of people who have drowned who were of an evil nature, or they are people who have eaten the ghost food.
All right. Oh man, that is, yeah, that's true. I've read about. I'll have to do more searching on the Bakwus because it was more of a Bigfoot creature in the piece that I'd read. But that's your story is a lot better, and it's very similar to other stories around the world. One that it's almost just like are elves in the UK. That there are fairy circles, and if people stood inside the fairy circle and encountered an elf, and the elf offered them wine or bread, and the person ate the wine or ate the bread or drank the wine, they would be transported to the elf to the fairy realm, and be forced to live there forever. Which, right. Yeah, that's way too similar.
Yeah. Well, I do know that the Bakwus, at least from what I read doing the research for Alcatraz Island, is that a lot of people have mistaken the Bakwus for the Matakagmi. And I'm using the California native terms. And I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, where, a lot of people think that the Bakwus might be just another Bigfoot, but there are so many things that split it off from it. It's one of those that I've really been kind of fascinated with trying to learn more about that particular cryptid. So,
right, and I think I read that some of the native peoples of the Pacific Northwest have Bakwus ceremonial masks and have a whistle.
They do.
Yeah. That's a sound that it supposedly makes.
Yeah, supposedly during some of the Ohlone and Modoc festivals that we have out here in California, they will have people who will dress up in these masks and portray the Bakwus in their ceremonies. And I've really been wanting to go up to one or two of these just to kind of check them out. But a lot of times, non-natives are not really all that welcome in some of them. Some of them they are, but it just depends on which one you're going to.
You know what? This is always bothered me, and the more I've dug into things, it bothers me more. Is that we won't listen to the native peoples. We won't listen to them about their stories, and. Okay, I mentioned the Billy ape, Bili ape, because it's named after the Billy Forest in the Congo, and it the natives, the locals, talk to Westerners about this giant chimpanzee that acted, it looked like a chimpanzee, it acted like a gorilla, it howled at the moon and would kill and eat leopards. And it was dismissed. That's a cute story until Western science found these really big chimpanzees who would a lot of times walk on 2 feet more than a normal chimp, made nests on the ground like a gorilla, and they witnessed it kill a big cat and eat it. So why do we think we know more than the people who've lived in this area and lived with what we call legends, for hundreds or thousands of years? We don't know more.
Yeah, exactly.
That with a lot of stuff, though.
Yep.
Yeah. Like medicine or spirituality, all of that. We just need to open our ears and open our minds and pay attention to people who've already been there and done that.
We absolutely do. All right, so now it is the top of the hour. So Pete, you have an introduction to make?
Oh yeah, it's that weird lady we work with, right?
Yeah, she's a little off, but we love her anyway. And
Yeah,
Jason, during this, feel free to kibitz if you like. Pete?
ladies and gentlemen, I now give you the Grand Dam of Weird, Angie Mole, with the Weird World News.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are y'all?
Excellent. How are you, Angie?
I'm making it.
Hey, Angie, I'm doing great.
Good. That makes me happy to hear.
So what do you have for us tonight, Angie?
All right. Well, Orlando Serrano Arzola was taking pictures at the rim of the Glen Canyon Recreation Area's overlook when he fell 100 feet to his death, then tumbled another 150 feet. It's a story we hear over and over, but what you don't normally get is the second part. While NPS was recovering the body, they came upon another pile of remains that have since been confirmed to be human.
Okay.
Where'd you say this was? Glen Canyon?
Yes, it's in Arizona.
Okay, yeah.
The two incidents are completely unrelated, and no information has been released yet as to the length of time the other person had been there, or if there's a missing persons case that will be cleared up with this discovery.
Wow.
I wouldn't want to make that discovery, especially if the body had been there for a while.
Well, I guess it depends on how. Never mind. I think I could not find any information about, if the person had walked around a railing or anything like that. He could have been doing everything perfectly normally and still possibly fallen.
Well, do we know if it was a male or female?
The unidentified person has not, they haven't released details about it yet. They just confirmed that it is human.
Well, here's the thing that one of my first thoughts was, how could somebody be down there and nobody know?
That happens a lot of times, man.
Well, there are several reasons for why, but also a lot of people take their own lives at national parks.
And there's a lot that are missing too, that go in and never come out,
right,
for one reason or another.
Yeah, but if I remember right, isn't Glen Canyon one of those areas that is fairly well traveled?
Well, I don't know what the terrain looks like at that location. I know that this is supposed to be like the dam overlook.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how easy it was for people to see anything anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And who knows, maybe if it was a suicide, he could have been there at midnight.
I'm sorry?
Well, I was going to say, if it was a suicide, he could have jumped at midnight and there wouldn't have been anybody there.
Oh, I just didn't hear you. Okay. We love to make fun of California and Florida, but Maine is getting in on it tonight.
Oh, thank God.
Although this really isn't anything, like after I wrote that, I was kind of like, I don't really know that this is funny at all, but it's so weird. It's like, I really can't even believe that it really happened. But 2 police officers in Rockland have been fired after being charged with aggravated animal cruelty, night hunting, and unlawful use or possession of implements or aids, and for illuminating wild animals or birds. I'm sorry?
That's exciting.
The former officers were hunting porcupines at night while on duty, then beating them to death, in most cases, but not all, because another officer found one of them still alive, unfortunately, with their batons, and they sometimes pepper sprayed them as well. While the officers admitted to at least 11 senseless killings, there was one incident that was filmed and then posted to a Snapchat group of fellow officers where finally someone with a conscience reported it.
Oh, that's horrible.
It really is.
Rockland's police chief acted immediately, though, and all 3 were placed on admin leave within 24 hours of the report. So at least the police chief was not messing around.
If these guys get convicted, which hopefully they will.
They have been.
Okay, good. So, you know what they ought to be forced to do is to watch that one little video that I keep seeing pop up on Facebook and Instagram of the porcupine eating the pumpkin.
Oh.
Now, think about it. If they are forced to watch this repeatedly over and over again, they might actually start feeling bad for what they did.
I doubt it.
You're going to lose it completely.
Still.
North American porcupines are wooded-dwelling herbivores that can live over 20 years. They do not shoot out quills, contrary to the old myth. And the most aggressive they get is when they're cornered. They will run backwards, quills first, at the aggressor, and then they run away. So I think...
And really cute as hell.
They
Yeah.
are. They
Especially
are.
when they're eating pumpkins.
Yes.
I mean, well, I'm just going to leave all commentary alone with that one.
Y'all have seen that video, right?
Yes.
It is so adorable. I just want to grab that thing. I don't even care if I get Quill's marks.
Yeah, that's what you think. Try getting one stuck in your finger. You'll change your mind.
No, thanks.
What we need to do is crossbreed a porcupine with a skunk. We would have a super animal.
Oh my God.
It would.
I like the way this guy thinks.
Throw a little bit of armadillo in there too for the armor.
Oh, it would be unstoppable.
Yes, it would. And you would have many of them taking over towns because nobody would know how to deal with it.
I don't know,
Right.
but I just had the perfect plot for a B movie.
I'm just saying, this is my next novel.
Oh my! I can see you writing it.
Just remember us. That's all I ask.
Attack of the Skunkudine. I don't know. Yeah, we're working on that. We'll work on it.
I think that was perfect.
Arma Skunkupine. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Skunkadillo.
No.
That sounds like a cheap cigar.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I bet it would taste good with brandy.
The most pristine and complete T-Rex skeleton ever found was sold at auction for $31 million this week. Stan, as he's called, was found in the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota in 1987 and was on display in the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research until recently, when a court had to get involved in museum business and he went up for auction. And that is a total dramatic story that I'm not even going to get into, but it wasn't something that happened because they wanted it to. So just keep that in mind.
I wish I would have that. I wish I would have that kind of disposable income to throw down $31 million on a T-Rex.
I know, right?
That would be nice.
The male skeleton is about 70% complete, 13 feet tall, 40 feet long, and shows indications of healed battle wounds before the fella died around the age of 20. The dinosaur is so remarkable that casts have been made of this particular one and are on display in museums around the world. The buyer has insisted on remaining anonymous, but Stan's fans are hoping the new owner will put him back into the public eye instead of keeping him hidden away in a private collection.
His name is Stan?
His name is Stan. He is named after the gentleman who found him.
Now, I'm going to ruin visits to museums for everyone, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, you said that Stan was 70% complete, his skeleton, and that is the most complete skeleton of a T-Rex ever found. Most, or we're going to say all dinosaurs are mostly fake. Most dinosaur skeletons, because so little of the skeleton is found. When they put it together, they have to replicate most of the pieces. Even with Stan, they have to replicate 30% of him. So yeah, whenever you go to a museum, you aren't really seeing a lot of dinosaur bones.
Well,
that just makes me upset.
I'm really fun at parties, by the way.
Yeah. I'm going to have to hire you for my next one.
I'm speechless.
Well,
Congratulations, Jason. Everybody's speechless on a radio show.
Yeah, that makes for great radio.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, here, look at this.
if I lean in closer to the microphone, you can hear my eyelids going plink, plink.
Oh, good.
Oh, I what that was.
So apparently, I don't know if maybe it was just me being uninspired or if there's just seriously been a lack of stuff going on this week. But I'm going to wrap it up with this next story. Butt dialing isn't quite as common as it used to be, but it still happens. Unfortunately, for one guy, it cost him almost $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla allows you to upgrade software for your, I'm using air quotes around the word car, by simply selecting it in the app. This guy and several others since January claim the purchases were unintentional and there's no excuse for not being able to get a refund. In fact, Tesla gives buyers a full week to return a physical vehicle. But even if there's an accidental in-app purchase, which isn't even a tangible thing and can be reversed remotely, there's a 48-hour window on returns, and good luck figuring out how to get one processed. So these people have been accidentally opening the app and clicking on things with, either their fingers putting it in their pocket or whatever, and it's just purchasing software upgrades for their vehicle. And it seems like the only way most people are getting relief from the glitch is by tweeting about it. But even then, Elon Musk may just reply with something snarky like, trust your butt, when he finds out you just dropped $2,000 on an acceleration software upgrade.
That is horrible. That's horrible.
Can you imagine how hard it'll be to get a refund when Elon Musk moves to Mars?
Oh, it'll be horrible. Already.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, at least in his heart and in his mind, he's already there.
Most probably.
So I'm kind of curious, when these people call to try and get their app purchase back and they're being told they can't, do you think they're trying to figure out what to say and are just sitting there on the phone going, but?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. You were trying to be funny again. I'm sorry.
I would never.
Yes.
I know.
On the stick.
You can't ever. I love you.
You're mean.
You were supposed to poke him, Angie. That was your job.
I'm sorry. So I'm sorry that I didn't quite get everything together the way that I normally do. I mean, there just wasn't anything that I could find that was really just crazy, out there, bizarre, weird, for this week. I'm really sorry. Y'all, everyone who's listening, y'all are going to have to do better. Do something weird.
Yes.
Yeah. It's our listeners' fault.
Create some news stories, people.
Man, that sounds almost like a breakup. It's not me, it's you.
Well, that's usually accurate.
We don't want to break up with anybody.
Yeah, definitely not.
I will come back next week a little bit stronger, and that is all I got for y'all today. Thank you so much for listening to the Full Spectrum Project's Weird World News on WBHM-DB Birmingham, Alabama. And with that, let's get back to Brian and Pete.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
You are welcome.
And Angie, it was not that bad, so don't worry about it.
I just kind of felt like it was not as weird. I feel like I didn't bring the weird. I apologize.
Yeah. You didn't bring the weird this week, and that's okay, though. That's okay, because I have a feeling next week will probably be double.
I hope. With a little less death and nicer to porcupines.
Well, either way, we will be looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, so getting back to Mr. Offutt. So you know that Pete and Angie are in Texas, correct?
I believe Houston.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
College Station.
Yeah, Angie's in College Station. Pete's in the armpit of hell, Houston.
Well, my daughter, my oldest kid, graduated from Texas A&M, so I've been to College Station, and she lives in Houston. So I've been to Houston. I saw the Rolling Stones in Houston last year.
So it's 3 against 1, Brian. So whatever you're trying to set up, boom.
I'm not trying to set anything up. It's just my mother-in-law used to live in Houston, and we're talking. It was in October, and it was so hot. And I mentioned this before. We had to go from the air-conditioned house to the air-conditioned car to the air-conditioned place we were going to.
That's a problem?
And that was in October.
And that's a problem? For Christmas around here, dude, you're in shorts most of the time at Christmas.
Well, so are we. And we have palm trees. And for snow, we make pina coladas. Mm-hmm. So there.
It's all right.
It gets below zero here, so I don't want to talk to you people about winter.
Oh, you know what? Don't. I was going to say, don't feel bad. My sister and brother and ma are living in Michigan, and they're trying to get me to move there. And I'm just like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't do winter.
No, I grew up in Maryland myself. So as a kid, I can remember shoveling out the driveway and the snow guy pushing it all back, and we getting mad and throwing ice balls at the driver. So yeah, I get it. I do.
Yeah, but nobody does winter. Winter does you.
Exactly.
Yes, it does. Sometimes it hurts.
Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, because I'm going to be branching out and doing events, vending my books and things like that. Vending in the snow is not fun when you're outside at a street fair. It just doesn't work. Oh, you know what? That actually reminds me. My tax guy actually told me I should probably get an accountant because I'm kind of, I guess, starting my own business, I guess, with the vending. So I actually found this guy, and he's really not that bad, but it's weird. I never realized just how big of a gossip accountants are. I mean, literally, I tell this guy anything, and he just goes around telling everybody he knows. I mean, he always likes to spreadsheet around.
Oh, Angie, where's that stick?
What stick?
You're falling down on the job, Angie.
I promise you, I won't just bring a stick. I'll bring like a baseball bat at Jefferson.
Please.
Uh-oh.
Please.
Did I tell you I wasn't going to be able to make that event?
No, you have led me to believe something completely different.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it.
Aw.
Not if you have a bat.
It's okay. I'm bringing some 10-penny nails, so we'll get it fixed up.
You guys scare me. Okay, so
and we're right now.
So Jason, getting back to Texas, what should Angie and Pete be on the lookout for in Texas as far as monsters?
Around Houston,
fine, because if it's something that I can't take out with my 9mm, I'm looking for you.
Yeah, we've got some Texas-sized monsters down in Texas. And you know what? The thing is about Texas, if they haven't all been shot by now, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There is that.
Yeah. There's a big Bigfoot presence in Texas. One of the things that really surprised me is when I was a kid, watching, spaghetti westerns, which of course weren't even filmed here, but I expected Texas to all be, desert, because that's what I saw in the movies. And my in-laws used to live in Paris, Texas. By the way, for those of you who've never been to Paris, Texas, they have a large Eiffel Tower with a big red cowboy hat on top.
Yes, I've been there a couple of times for Texas Junior Play Festival.
It's not. I mean, it's. I got a couple of favorite restaurants there, but they don't live there anymore. But in that area, I mean, the pine forests are everywhere, and they're thick, and it's beautiful, and it's still hot. But it shocked me about the pine forest. But there's a big Bigfoot presence in Northeast Texas. So we've got the big hairy guy hanging around. One of my favorite monsters is the Lake Worth monster, and this is around Fort Worth, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And this has been seen in a few different states. This type of creature, it's a goat man. It's half man, half goat. It's a bipedal, hairy creature with a goat face and horns. And people have seen this. There's a Polaroid picture out there somewhere that a guy took back in the late 60s.
I thought I saw something like that. I was just going to say that.
Right. Yeah. There was a high school party out by the lake, and one of the teenagers, freaked out, screaming about this. Seeing this creature up on a rise, and the people looked and they saw it, and it threw a tire at them, and somebody had a Polaroid camera and snapped a picture of it. And it looked kind of like a satyr from Greek mythology. And then police, they went to the police. The police came out and looked around and didn't find anything, but it's been reported for a while.
Find any tracks?
I don't know. I really don't remember.
Hey guys, we need to take a quick station identification break. We'll finish this when we come back. So stay with us, and we will be right back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please do. And if you have any questions for us or our guest, please call area code 205-533-7982. We have been talking with Jason Offutt about monsters in America, as well as how to kill zombies. And this one is a good one, how to kill zombies with office supplies. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, you wrote in your book about the Tommyknockers. And I actually just did a little piece about the Tommyknockers in the book that just came out, Ghosts and Legends of Calico. It's about a mining town. And maybe you could go over how the Tommyknockers came to the United States and how they just sort of spread across the country.
Well, the legends of the Tommyknockers began in Cornwall, England. And the miners in Cornwall claimed to have experienced, they'd be down in the mine and they'd come back up and they'd find a tool that they'd left missing, or maybe their lunch would be missing, or just be moved somewhere else. And they didn't know who did it, but a week later, a tool that was missing or their lunch would reappear, and they didn't know how that happened. They also received warnings of knocks that preceded cave-ins, or knocks that led them to a vein that was productive. So Tommyknockers seem to be fairly helpful creatures. What they credited the Tommyknockers as being were the spirits of Jewish people who were involved in the crucifixion of Christ. And I'm not sure how that fit in. I'm not sure how they came to that conclusion. But that's what they believed. When they came, or when coal was big in the United States, the people who were running the coal mines brought the best miners they could find, which were Cornish miners over, and with the Cornish miners came the Tommyknockers. And the Tommyknockers are apparently diminutive humans, dressed as miners, and they do these mischievous things. And they also, again, help miners with the warnings. And they were prevalent in Pennsylvania, where a lot of coal mines were. But when the gold rush began and people went west, they mined for silver in Colorado, they mined for gold in California. Cornish miners went, and the Tommyknocker legends went as well. And that's the legend of the Tommyknockers in the United States.
One of the things that I found interesting when I was doing a little bit of research on them, and unfortunately I cannot remember the name of the mine, but there is a mine in Oregon that was still producing, but the miners were saying that the Tommyknockers were doing things to keep them out of the mine, and therefore the miners were afraid that the entire mine was going to collapse. So this one mine is now completely shut down. It hasn't been active for, if I remember correct, more than 20 years now, specifically because no miners will go in there because they think the Tommyknockers have told them they can't. And I just always thought that was kind of an interesting, thing with the Tommyknockers. I'm still trying to figure out how Stephen King came up with this weird thing when in his movie The Tommyknockers, because it had nothing to do with the Tommyknockers whatsoever.
Right, and when I started researching the Tommyknockers, that I read the book he wrote and seen the I think was it a made for TV movie starring Jimmy Schmidt,
something like that.
The heck was her name? Tracy Lords was in it too.
Okay.
Yeah,
I actually knew her, believe it or not, when I was younger. We actually were at some same parties because I live in the area. but we won't go there.
We'll talk later. Yeah. But yeah, and you know, I read the book and watched the movie, and they started researching the Tommyknockers. I had no idea. But then, you know, I like Stephen King. I've read his stuff for years, and he hates that book. He hates the book he wrote because he was so whacked out on his head on cocaine and booze that he thinks it's written terribly. He doesn't like it.
Well, I mean, it's a good story, but why he decided to call it Tommyknockers is beyond me. One of the things that I found kind of interesting, at least with Calico, is they still have reports of Tommyknockers within the tourist mine, and it's an actual mine, or at least it was, the Maggie mine, and they actually have people that come out talking about these little creatures and the noises that they hear, and they're, you know, saying that it could be the Tommyknockers. That's one of the things I would love to get into that mine and just kind of spend an evening there, seeing if I can come up with stuff.
Folks out there in Calico, why would they let you in?
Well, it's owned by the county of San Bernardino. So because it's a governmental agency, they're not really big on, you know, things like that, even though they do ghost walks. But getting back to the Tommyknockers, the miners, at least out in Calico, and I don't know whether you've run into this in some of your research, but when they would leave the mines, they would actually go to the bars and would leave spaces open and buy drinks that they would set there in case the Tommyknockers wanted to come and have a drink with them.
Right. I found that as well, which there are, you know, definitely European precedents for all that. For example, in Sweden, they had the tomtars, which are basically gnomes, but they would do, you know, ornery things. They would tie, you know, cows' tails together and make milk spoil and things like that. And I interviewed a professor I think he's in Wisconsin, who specializes in you know, European fairy lore. And he said his grandma is a Sweden. She's Swedish. She still lives in Sweden and leaves out a bowl of beer on the front step in the winter for the tomtars to drink, you know, to make sure they won't do anything ornery around her farm. And in Iceland, you know, what you said about, you know, the miners being superstitious enough, I'm, you know, using that word.
That's a correct word, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, they're superstitious enough not to want to go in the mine because they're, you know, worried that the Tommyknockers are telling them not to be there. The people of Iceland believe in elves so much, and where the elves live, that if they plot out a road like a highway, and where they plot it out, it goes through a place where elves live, they will move the road. They will build the road around it, as not to tick off the elves.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a superstition. You know, one of the things that I found kind of interesting, the knocking before a mine cave in, and them saying that was the Tommyknockers warning them. Generally speaking, when a mine is going to collapse, the rock is already starting to cave in, so it's cracking the wood, shoring. The rock itself is starting to crack, and there's a logical theory, and I'm just saying it's a theory, that is what the miners were hearing, and they just assumed that it was the Tommyknockers warning them. But then, like you were saying, a lot of the miners thought that if they were encroaching on one of the Tommyknockers areas of mine, that the Tommyknockers themselves would be causing the cave-in to try and keep them out of their section of the mine.
Yeah. Well, and
what would they to have a section of the mine for if they were supposedly protecting the miners?
Well, they're little miners themselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe that was a special area to them.
Okay, I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They, from what I understand, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Tommyknockers had certain areas. Some of the areas that they would mine were specifically theirs, and they didn't want human miners going into those areas and affecting the mining that they were doing. And then they also had what they considered community areas where anybody could mine. And those are the ones that they allowed the humans to dig. So if the humans were encroaching on their private mining areas, they did things to get them out of that area.
Well, right. I mean, there are a lot of cases of most cryptids doing such things. I mean, if you encroach on a Bigfoot area out in the forest, they will knock on trees. Supposedly, I have a personal hypothesis on Bigfoot knocking, that it's just Bigfoot hunters in two different parts of the forest knocking on trees. But yeah.
It very well could be.
That's a possibility. I mean, folks talk to themselves.
Yeah, but it's. I look toward. I'm more scientifically minded. I look toward the logical. A lot of monsters that I have listed in my book. It's pretty obvious to me that they're local legends. They're things that are fun. But I also think that there's plenty of evidence out there that some of these monsters are most probably real.
I was just going to ask you, with your logical basis, which ones do you think that have a probability of being alive? Besides Bigfoot, because we've talked about Bigfoot.
Oh, that's the big one.
Okay.
If any cryptid on the planet is going to be found, to be real, it would be Bigfoot. And again, I will throw this. And I'll throw a couple of more entities into the mix, like Bigfoot, ghosts, which is not a cryptid, of course, but ghost I'll throw in there, and dragons, which is a cryptid. All three of these have been spoken about from what I understand, about every culture on the planet for thousands of years. And if our history is correct, which I'm not saying it is, because we, don't know everything about our history, but if it is correct, and North America and South America and Africa and Asia and Europe, if these were, and Australia, if these were completely separate at one point, and people were living here in all of these places, and they all have Bigfoot stories, and they all have ghost stories, and they all have dragon stories, how could all these things not be real? Now, I'm not saying I'm going to see, Smaug, flying over my house and coming in to steal my gold tooth. I'm not saying that, but there's got to be something that is real about all three of these stories, and many more.
The Indians speak of the hairy men, and as you stated before. So, it would be what they would think it was versus what we think it is now. And I know there are a lot of Bigfoot stories and legends. They don't speak of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It's the wild men or the hairy men.
Right, the wild man of the forest in Europe. Great Britain had a Bigfoot too, and it was a wild man or a hairy man. Bigfoot encounters in North America and Canada, when Europeans came over, were referred to as wild men. And when the gorilla was discovered by Western science, and I do the air quotes around discovered because, of course, the local people knew what a gorilla was.
Right.
But there are plenty of Bigfoot stories in newspapers from back in the day that say, like a gorilla was seen in Kansas, confronting a farmer. You know what? There were no gorillas in Kansas. What could that be? Yeah, Bigfoot.
I don't know.
Yeah, quite possibly. All right, so this may sound like an interesting or good question, but what would you say that most monsters are nocturnal, or is that just something Hollywood has instilled in all of us to believe?
Well, I am going to say probably nocturnal. Although Hollywood has done a number on monsters like vampires and werewolves. Vampires and werewolves, according to Hollywood, have nothing to do with the vampires and werewolves of legends from Europe and other places on the planet. But if these monsters exist and humans are as warlike as we are, and, shoot first, ask questions later. You Texas people know what I'm talking about.
Was that a shot?
No, I'm just speaking the truth here. I've got Texas ties, man. I know what I'm talking about.
I was discussing with you.
Anyway, if, we are threatening, and we outnumber Bigfoot. We outnumber lake monsters. We outnumber, if there are still living dinosaurs, we definitely outnumber them. So I imagine a lot of these cryptids, if they weren't nocturnal already, became nocturnal just out of need.
Yeah. I've often wondered that, and especially if they're the type that have to hunt. Wouldn't hunting be easier during the day rather than at night?
Well, it could be, but there are a whole lot of animals that are active at night just for the same reason. They're hiding. They're hiding from people. They're hiding from other predators. So, well, yeah. Let's face it, we are the most deadly predator on the planet.
Well, if you look at it realistically, we think we're at the top of the food chain. Well, you take away our guns, we're not top of the food chain anymore. There's a lot of stuff out there that'll hurt us.
Well, most things.
Yeah, I was going to say the only reason we're at the top of the food chain is because of our technology.
Yeah.
On that note, we have to take another station identification break, but when we come back, we will continue with Jason Offutt. So we will see you on the other side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. We hope you have joined our chat room. If not, you still have time. And you still have time if you want to call in with questions for our guest or us at area code 205-533-7982.
Hopefully everybody's grabbed a beer and are sitting back and listening to a good show.
Absolutely. All right. So we asked about monsters in Texas. Now, I'm in California, so naturally, I need to know what kind of monsters I have here in California that I need to be on the lookout for.
Well, I mean, of course, if you're going up to Bluff Creek, you're gonna run into Patty. I don't know if you want to do that or not. Again, Patty being the Bigfoot, the female Bigfoot from the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Right. Kind of grumpy when she was in the woods. Yeah, well, I mean, she had stalkers. You know, I'd get a little grumpy if I saw stalkers as well. Of course. One of the cool ones, the Dark Watchers. They are seen in the Santa Lucia Mountains, and they've been around for, as far as people know. The Native American tribes from the area saw these. They were, and maybe still are, human shadows that stand out on bluffs and look out across the mountains, or if they're closer to the sea, they look out across the sea. They're giant. They're enormous human-shaped shadows, and when people approach them, they vanish, and they don't leave any footprints. They don't leave anything, but they're there one minute and they're gone the next. Is there anything in the legend that says how they became to be, or what they think it is? No, they were just they were a mystery. They were just there in the mountains watching. There were these shadows that would watch out over the mountains, and if anyone is carrying a weapon or waterproof clothing for some reason, these things immediately will disappear. Huh. Yeah,
waterproof clothing. That's kind of a weird thing to be. I don't know if afraid of it is the right term, but that just seems kind of odd. It's oddly specific. Yes, waterproof clothing. John Steinbeck wrote a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, waterproof clothing. There's certain chemicals that are used to waterproof clothing. So maybe it's the smell. I don't know. Oh well, no, that's maybe so. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. John Steinbeck wrote about the Dark Watchers in a short story called Flight. So it's kind of neat that a Nobel Prize winning author, and of course California native, wrote about these creatures. Yeah. Yeah. Have you? Go ahead. Well, I was going to move on to the next monster. No, go ahead. The Billowhack monster. That's weird. I was just going to ask you about that. I was too, actually. That is great. All right, the Billowhack monster, Santa Paula, California. This was during World War II and the years after World War II. This is a Bigfoot-looking creature, except for it's got horns like a ram. Curled horns, and it would frequent the area of the old Billowhack Dairy and a ranch off Wheeler Canyon Road. The legend about this is it was an experiment by the government. And these experiment by the government stories, origin stories, are the same. There are a dozen of them in my book. As a matter of fact, the chupacabra in Puerto Rico, that supposedly was the U.S. government in an experiment that created the chupacabra. Anyway, the Billowhack monster had long gray hair. It was ape-like and had huge shoulders and was really muscled. And like Bigfoot, it would throw rocks at people.
and if it was close enough, it would pound the hoods of their car. So, I mean, this was thought to be the government's attempt to make a super soldier.
I was just thinking that, you with all these different creatures that have the different types of heads, it makes me really think of Egypt when their hieroglyphics speak of all of their different gods that have different heads, and I'm wondering if there could be a possibility of something there. I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy buff or anything, but it just seems really, really odd when you're talking about stuff like that. That it was written about like that a long, long time ago.
That is interesting. Yeah, because the Anubis is a human body and a jackal's head. Horus had it was a human body with the head of a bird. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I have heard people talk about like the Egyptian gods and the monsters from ancient Greece, like the centaur and the Minotaur, as being the results of crossbreeding between whether you want to call them the fallen angels or the Nephilim or extraterrestrials, them mating with animals.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, had you heard the story? I guess it happened, if I remember correctly, back in the 1970s up in Santa Paula, where the sheriffs actually had to round up, I believe it was 9 or 10 years old, this kid who was running around with a samurai sword looking for the Billy Whack monster to take him out.
No, I hadn't heard about that, but, God bless him.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of funny. It's like, first of all, who would let their child walk out of their house at night carrying, especially one that's only 10 years old, carrying a samurai sword? It boggles my mind when I think about that.
You can't control that because this has been about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I wrote a story about the police were called because this 4-year-old child holding a beer broke into a house on Christmas morning, opened presents under the tree, and put on a dress that was for the 4-year-old girl in the house.
Wow.
Huh.
He got into Grandpa's beer and wandered outside. So you can't necessarily blame it on the parents.
Well, okay.
Although they did have a samurai sword in the house.
Yeah, that the kid could get to that. Yeah. You were talking about how in your book you have a lot of military experiments. Have you heard of the Napa rebobs? Because I'd also heard that they were supposedly another one of these government military experiments gone wrong that created these flying monkeys.
You know what? The fact that I missed the flying monkeys really, really bothers me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, look it up then, the Napa rebobs. And it was really kind of funny. At one point, I've been working on a book with my son, California Cryptids, and we each picked a certain amount of cryptids to write about. And I had just finished writing about the Napa rebobs, and then I started writing about the Billy Whack monster. And at one point, I just stopped, stared at my screen, and went, "Wait a minute! I just finished writing about flying monkeys that look like something out of The Wizard of Oz, and now I'm writing about a goat man. What the heck am I doing?" It was just one of those things. When you were writing the book, did you ever kind of wonder, it's like, what am I doing writing this?
No, I was having fun. I didn't wonder that.
Yeah, it's just, maybe it's because I kept seeing, flying monkeys and goat man. Maybe it was just because I had put those two together. It was just one of those things that was kind of like, oh, okay. But you know what? I am having fun with it. So.
Yeah, well, up in Washington State, I mean, if you want to put flying monkeys and that together, we've got the bat squatch.
Excuse me?
The bat squatch. The bat squatch.
I was going to say, you have to tell us about this.
Right. This involves Mount St. Helens. The eruption was in 1980, May 1980, and after that, people reported seeing what was called the bat squatch, and it was reported in the Tacoma News, which I love it when these stories are reported in newspapers. An 18-year-old kid was driving along, and his truck shut off and crawled to a stop. And of course, this sort of thing happens a lot with the paranormal. Electricity, batteries tend to die.
Right.
And his vehicle died. UFOs as well, absolutely. Absolutely. And he stopped because there was a creature on the road in front of him that had the feet of a bird, the legs, torso, and chest of a gorilla. It had bat wings on its back and a gorilla head with yellow eyes and huge teeth. And it was purple. It was covered in purple fur.
But a gorilla?
Yeah, it looked like a gorilla with bird feet and bat wings.
Now,
And
are we sure that this witness wasn't drinking? Or I was fine with it until purple.
Well, I was fine with it until gorilla head, because I was thinking maybe a Mothman thing, but it's not a moth.
Gorilla, the gorilla, or the purple's what did you in?
The purple is what did me in.
All right, well, okay, I think the bat wings would have done me in, but the purple, I'm okay with that, except for the fact that in 2000, I used to drink, more than I do now, and I've never seen anything cryptid like this. So it's not booze. Never seen pink elephants. I would love to, with wings.
They look cute.
But people also saw this in 2009. One of the people there were two guys were hiking on Mount Shasta, and one of them saw a Hulk Hogan-sized ape with bat wings. In 2011, a guy in Washington, he was from Washington, was walking his dog and saw this monster flying with bat wings, with blue fur, glowing red eyes, at least 9 feet tall. And so it's been multiple sightings of the same or a similar creature. And Bat Squatch is a great name.
Now, it actually is a great name. Have they ever found any type of evidence of this creature, or is it just all from witnesses?
All eyewitness sightings.
So no bird, giant bird footprints or anything like that?
No giant bird gorilla poop, nothing like that, no.
Huh. Interesting. We only have 1 minute, but I wanted to ask you, and if you could, just really quick, the lizard men who live under Los Angeles.
What about them? Don't you, have them?
Well, supposedly, because I'm just outside of Los Angeles, but I've often wondered about them because they say there's a whole city of lizard people under Los Angeles.
Really? I do not know that. I do not know about the lizard people under Los Angeles. I know there are lizard people living underneath Mount Rainier, but I didn't know them about Los Angeles.
Yeah, there's supposedly a whole lizard community city with tunnels and not necessarily buildings, but little caves they live in and things like that.
Now, are they extraterrestrial, reptiloids, or are they Sleestack? What kind of reptilians are we talking about?
Well, that I'm not really sure, but unfortunately, we are completely out of time. But listen, Jason, I just wanted to thank you so much, and I hope we can have you back because there's still so much that I would like to talk to you about.
All right. Hey, I had a great time. I love being on. You guys are awesome. So anytime you want me back on, just let me know.
Great. Thank you.
I'll get with you.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
definitely. All right. So thank you, Jason. It seriously much appreciated. So,
All right, yeah.
folks,
Same here.
So, great. All right. So, folks, next week we have Darren Ritson. He'll be with us to talk about the South Shields poltergeist over in England. So until next week, please be safe and please be careful.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.